Hello dear viewers, welcome to my new lesson on the topic Goods and Service Tax or GST. So let's have a look on to all the important points first. Before I begin, I want to tell you about taxes. So what is meant by a tax? The word tax owes its origin to the Latin word taxere. Okay, what? Taxere. The word taxere means to charge or to compute. So a tax is a mandatory financial charge or any other type of levy imposed upon a taxpayer. The taxpayer can be an individual or other legal entity, for example a company, by a governmental organization in order to fund various public expenditures. That means the amounts are collected from the tax from the common people or these corporates or other entity by the government is used for funding various public expenditures. Then GST. GST is an acronym for Goods and Service Tax. Goods and Service Tax. So what is GST? Do you have any idea? GST can simply be said as a comprehensive, multi-stage, consumption-based tax levied on the manufacture, sale and consumption of goods and services at the national level. GST is a single, unified, indirect tax system which aims at uniting India's taxation structure to a one nation, one tax, one market regime. So that's the ultimate motto of GST. One nation, one tax and one market. So the ultimate aim of GST is to convert India into such an economy. Then the Goods and Service Tax was introduced in India on 1st July 2017 and was applicable throughout India except some states like Jammu and Kashmir, and it replaced all the multiple cascading taxes prevalent till now or till that date. If you look onto the history of GST, in the year 2000, our former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee introduced the concept first, and he did set up a committee headed by the then West Bengal Finance Minister Azim Dasgupta to design a GST model. But it took about 17 years to successfully complete his dream of a unified tax named GST. So there are a lot of impediments or hurdles or obstacles in the effective implementation of GST. That's why it took a lot of years to achieve the same. And now let's have a look on the taxes which got subsumed or which were replaced under the current GST regime. Those taxes like state taxes like VAT, value added tax, entertainment tax, luxury tax, tax on lottery or betting or gambling, octroi, purchase tax, etc. So these tax got subsumed to SGST, that is VAT, then entertainment tax, octroi, purchase tax, etc. And those central taxes which were prevalent in our country like central excise duty, then service tax, central sales tax CST, then special additional duty of customs duty, etc. got subsumed into CGST. So these are the taxes which got subsumed or which got replaced under the current GST regime. Then the tax structure of GST is a 4-tier tax structure. So here There are basically four main rates: zero rate, lower rate, standard rate, and higher rate under GST regime. So let's have a look on to all the rates first. First one is zero rate. The zero rate or nil rate tax is that tax that is applicable on goods and services. And here, it is equivalent to tax exemption and does not have any effect on the price of the product. Those items which have to be included under this category are decided by the central government. And it includes those items like food grains, then cereals, meat, puja items, then education, etc. So these are completely exempted from the purview of GST, or these are nil rated taxes under the GST regime. Then the next tier is lower rate. So as you all know, basically there are 5 rates for GST: 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%, and 0%. So here, under lower rate, 5% GST is being charged. Okay, 5% GST is being charged, and it is applicable to those food items like sugar, tea, coffee, oil, and other essentials like public distribution system, kerosene, LPG, etc. And here, since the taxation on coal, mainly coal, is likely to reduce from earlier 11.69 to 5% on GST regime, electricity generation is expected to be less expensive. Okay? And the next one is standard rate. Basically, there are 2 standard rates under GST. They are 12% and 18%. And imagine a product, for example, which is currently taxed at 13% and charged at a rate of 18% GST. This will increase the price of product, obviously, because earlier it was 13 and now it is 18%. There's a hike in the price tax rate from 13 to 18. That is a 5% difference, and it might lead to inflation, obviously. So to avoid this, what the government did was it brought all the goods which were taxed under 9 to 15%, and all these goods were brought under the standard rate of 12, and those goods which were taxed above 15 were brought under the head of 18% tax regime. Okay, so these are the standard rates, and the next one is the higher rate. So what is higher rate? Higher rate is 28% tax. 28%. Okay, and here the higher rate of tax is charged on white goods, mainly white goods, those luxury goods like a washing machine, air conditioners, refrigerators, small cars, etc. Then aerated drinks and cement are also included in this tier. Okay, so these are the taxes. So now let's have a look on to the basic GST terms like CGST, IGST, etc. So what is meant by CGST? CGST is an acronym for Central Goods and Service Tax. A central goods and service tax is levied on intra-state supply of goods. What? Intra-state. Intra means within the state. So it's a tax levied on intrastate supplies of both goods and services by the central government and is governed by the CGST Act, Central Goods and Service Tax Act. SGST will also be levied on the intrastate supply. Similarly, like CGST, SGST will also be charged or levied for intrastate supply of goods and services. This implies that both the central and state governments will agree on combining the levies with an appropriate proportion for revenue sharing between them. However, it is clearly mentioned in the Section 8 of the GST Act that taxes be levied on all intra-state supply of goods and services, but the rate of tax shall not be exceeding 14%. Why? because the maximum rate is 28% and it will be equally divided between two CGST and SGST. 14 each. Okay, the maximum rate is 14% for CGST. The next one is SGST. So what is SGST? SGST means State Goods and Service Tax. Under GST, SGST is a tax levied on the intrastate supplies of both goods and services by the state government. Intrastate tax levied by the state government and will be governed by the SGST Act. As explained in the previous section, CGST will also be levied on the same intrastate supply but will be governed by the central government. For example, Mr. Rajesh is a dealer in Kerala and he sells a good to Mr. Anand. And here Rajesh hails from Trivandrum and Anand hails from Ernakulam. These are the two districts in Kerala, and the transaction is an intrastate transaction because it happens within a state. And his sold goods worth rupees 10,000. The GST rate is 18%, suppose. Goods worth 10,000. So here, the total tax amount will be 1,800. And out of the 18% tax, then 9%, it can be bifurcated into two. 9% for GST and 9% for SGST. So out of the total 1,800 rupees tax, 900 will go to state and 900 will go to the central government. So that's the functioning of GST here. And the next one is IGST. So what is IGST? IGST is an acronym for Integrated Goods and Service Tax. IGST is charged for interstate supply of goods. CGST and SGST were levied for intrastate supply, and here IGST is levied for interstate supply of goods. Interstate means supply within different states of the country. Okay, here under IGST, exports will be zero rated and tax will be shared between the central and state government. IGST. Okay, since GST is a consumption based tax, the tax will be available to the final destination state, a state where the goods will reach. Okay, then let's have a look. Consider Mr. Rajesh is a businessman and he hails from Gujarat. Okay, and he sold his goods to Mr. Anand of Maharashtra. Anand hails from Maharashtra. And here, the GST rate is 18% and the goods worth rupees 1 lakh are sold. Goods worth 1 lakh are sold here. And here the tax rate will be 18,000. That is 18% on 1 lakh. And it is charged as IGST. And out of the 18,000, 9,000 will go to the central government. And remaining 9,000 will go to Maharashtra government because it is a final destination or consumption, the place of consumption. So since GST is a destination based tax, the amount of tax you collected will go to the ultimate destination, that is Maharashtra. Okay, the next one is UTGST. So what is UTGST? UTGST stands for Union Territory Goods and Service Tax. Currently there are 7 union territories in India, which are the Chandigarh, Lakshadweep, Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Andaman and Nicobar, Delhi, Puducherry, etc. Here, under UTGST, Delhi and Puducherry are not treated as union territories because they have a separate legislature and they have their own chief ministers. So, only the remaining 5 union territories like Andaman and Nicobar, Lakshadweep, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu, Chandigarh, etc. will come under the purview of UTGST. Okay. Then for the purpose of GST billing, the CGST and UTGST are separately levied and collected. Okay. So I think I've I'm able to bring a shade on the subject. Thank you. Have a nice day.